Thank you very much indeed, Hilco. I'd like to call on Gary Nugent of Rosderra Meats. Just while Gary's getting set up there, thank you very much for the questions by text. If you could just include your name, that'd be very helpful, please. And Rosderra Meats, I'm reliably informed, are Ireland's largest pork processor, and they're a global business with customers across the EU, the USA, Canada, China, and several other countries. Quite a long list. And Gary's going to chat to us about Rosderra Meats' journey and experience of the Origin Green programme. Over to you, Gary.
Thank you, Conor. I suppose I'm here today just to follow on from Sharon's presentation and to break it down one step further to give a case study of how we have taken on board the Origin Green programme. We certainly don't claim to be experts in sustainability, but what the aim here is to try and just demonstrate what we have done, and possibly some of the companies that have registered to become members of Origin Green, or indeed companies that are in the process of putting together their charter. What I want to do is just to demonstrate what we did. You know, you may get some little thing from it. So what I want to discuss today is I'm going to give you a brief overview of our company, and in following on from that, then I just want to discuss, I suppose, our Origin Green journey. So where we started, and bringing us right up to where we are now. Communication within Origin Green for us, within our company, was very, very important. So again, I just want to detail that. And the reasons why we decided that we would become verified members of Origin Green, and finally then bringing us on to where we are now, how we put it in place, the things that we have done, bringing us right up to where we are now. So a bit on the company, Rosderra Irish Meats, for those of you who are not familiar with us. We were formerly Glanbia Meats. We were subject to a management buyout in 2008. Turnover in excess of 300 million per annum. We have just over 1,000 employees in the country. 2 slaughtering facilities, one in Edenderry, County Offaly, the other one in Roscrea, County Tipperary. Combined, we slaughter in excess of 30,000 pigs per week. We have our own farms, Rosderra Farms, five units, strategically located across the middle of the country. We have an expanding herd of sows, currently at just under 5,500. And then our 3 other processing facilities. We have our largest cured meats facility, which is in Jamestown. Again, producing in excess of 500 tonnes of bacon per annum. We have Ireland's largest canning facility, which is up in Stradone, just outside Cavan. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the corned beef product, the Handley brand. That's us. And finally, then our facility in Clara, County Offaly, which we manufacture a range of different specialty ingredients and meat-based protein products. So that's a small bit on the company. I suppose our Origin Green journey. So for us, that started in 2013. There was an executive decision made. You know, we were going to sign up to Origin Green. So, and of course, I was nominated to be the lead for Origin Green. So our starting point was that, well, for us, was that we needed to establish what we call a sustainability plan for the group. Within that plan, then, that's for us, that's our formal plan. So within that, we have contained our environmental policy, our energy policy, also the company's approach to sustainability. So what it means to Rosderra Irish Meats, the whole idea of sustainability. Again, we would have considered ourselves to be acutely aware of our environmental impact, and in terms of energy efficiency and resource efficiency, we would have always maintained ourselves within best practice, best company practice, and we would have always benchmarked ourselves from various standards. So for us, Origin Green was a formalised structure or a forum to allow us to pull all of that information together, and for us to demonstrate it then as to you know, the different reductions that we were planning to make. So within that plan, before we set our targets, we said we needed some structure. So again, identified within the plan, we have what we call our sustainability structures. So what that means is within each site. So our starting point for this was we needed what we call sustainability teams. So each site, we pull together a cross-section of various managers, pull them together. That's our sustainability team. Again, you're talking about operations, quality, finance, hygiene, pulling them all together. And what they do is that on a weekly basis, we sit down, review KPIs from the previous week, look at how we're progressing versus our targets. So that was a very important step for us to get that structure in place. Then it was time for us to sit down and identify our target areas. There was a lot of consideration based on the different target areas that we finally settled on. Like, for example, animal welfare. Animal welfare for us is hugely important. You know, our raw material is our pigs. But for us, all of our pigs, they're all supplied from Board B quality assured farms. So I suppose what we did finally agree on anyway were the 4 key target areas here which we've identified. So I'll just briefly mention them. We obviously energy for us was number 1. We're quite a substantial energy user right across the group. So we settled on a 12% reduction. We've given ourselves 3 years, and we've baselined ourselves or benchmarked ourselves off 2010's figures. So energy was number 1, followed closely by water. Again, we're quite a significant user of water within our production process. So for us, that was another area that we were keen to tackle. Following on from that then was our carbon emissions. Obviously very important in terms of our environmental impact. And finally then, waste reduction. And what I mean by waste is our landfill waste, what we call it. There's different classifications of waste within our industry, but for our plan, it's solely focused on landfill waste. So that was our plan, our sustainability plan. And with the agreement of Board B, we pushed forward, we submitted our sustainability plan. It went for SGS approval, and in February of this year we became verified members. So that brings us up to becoming verified members. For us, we were actually putting so much effort and so much attention into putting together our plan to become verified members or certified members. We didn't actually know what the next step to do was once we actually became verified members. So we sat down, we discussed it, and the number 1 topic for us in terms of Origin Green and what we do next was communication. So we broke that down, I suppose, into 2 different sections: internal and external communication. Sorry, now again I'm just flying through. So for communication purposes, we, as I stated earlier, we have over 1,000 employees working across the 5 different processing sites. So communication for us was going to be an issue. We couldn't, for example, you can't use web-based communication. A lot of our staff are production-based staff. So we had to seek external expertise on this. So we approached Premier Business Media, Ronan here. We took him on board. We sat down to see what our best options here were. And credit to Ronan, he came up with the idea of using an internal newsletter called Meet the News. We thought it a catchy title anyway. So our internal newsletter was going to be our communication tool. This is a biannual internal newsletter. The first edition of which was exclusively given to Origin Green to promote the message internally. We found it to be very effective. It's a simple 4-page internal newsletter. It's quite condensed in terms of the information that it contains, but it's simple, but it's very, very effective. So that was our communication tool. Following on from that and using that as our tool, what we did was we decided that we would verbally brief all of our staff. Again, we have put in so much effort into this, putting together this plan, and setting ourselves targets and to be achieved and whatnot. We needed to make sure that this was communicated right down onto the floor level. So we went on a bit of a road trip, communication road trip as we call it, and we met each and every one of our staff. we verbally briefed them all on what we were trying to do with Origin Green. So that was our internal communications route as to what we took. So after that, then, that was internal. I suppose, again, what we needed to do was to communicate this externally then. We needed to make sure that our customers and some of our stakeholders, our suppliers, were familiar with what we were doing or what we were trying to do. So we had then what we call our corporate launch of Rosderra Irish Meats / Origin Green. And quite simply what that involved was we had in our head office on, I think it was the 20th, yeah, the 20th of May of this year, we brought the Minister down to us. And we had a bit of a corporate day, is what we call it. We had various different representatives from Board BIA, from SEAI were there as well. And again, this was important to communicate for us the message externally. We had local media and regional media on site as well. But again, for us, this was equally important in terms of internal communication. You know, our staff got to see firsthand what was happening and the level and the detail of exposure that we were getting here. So we found that to be very, very useful. So that was our head office launch. Again, we did something similar right across all of the other remaining processing sites on a slightly smaller scale. But again, we had good representation from Board BIA and from SEAI as well. So that was our communication campaign for Origin Green, for Rosderra Irish Meats Origin Green. Again, it surpassed all our expectations in terms of the level of exposure that we got, you know. So that brings us on. Then that brings us back to, I suppose, when all of that died down, we sat down. We had a little bit of time just to kind of focus ourselves and to say, what does Origin Green actually mean to Rosderra Irish Meats? Do you know, what are the benefits here, and what does it mean to us? So I suppose a couple of points that we picked out from that when looking at Origin Green to see how it would fit with Rosderra Meats is, firstly, the principles of Origin Green match our own principles in terms of sustainability and the environment. For us, Origin Green endorses the unique aspects of how Irish food is produced and sourced. And in particular for us, we are finding more and more of a requirement now that, say, our customers, they want their product to be sourced from a sustainable source. For us, again, Origin Green supports Rosderra Irish Meats products' point of difference in the global pork market. It enables the Rosderra team to focus and to deliver sustainable systems that improve efficiency. So these are all points that we've matched together, say, between Origin Green and ourselves. Origin Green's focus on selected Irish food companies allows us work within all our suppliers to deliver improved sustainability. And finally, then, Origin Green, it has the potential to impact further back along the supply chain, back to our farming systems. Again, we found that to be quite a unique opportunity. So that's what we have picked from Origin Green, and I suppose that brings us on to where we are now. So just going back to some of the targets that I spoke about previously there. Again, I emphasise the fact that energy for us was number one in our target areas list. I think when we break down our energy, say, between electrical and thermal demand, we would consider ourselves to be quite significant users. For example, our kilowatt requirement on an annual basis is just over 28 million kilowatt hours. And say our thermal demand then would equate to 1 million plus litres of LPG and just over 700,000 litres of LFO. So again, for us, a 12% reduction within this area is significant in terms of environmental impact, but also in terms of cost. So just to demonstrate what we have done in terms of our plans that we have in place to help us to achieve the reductions, I've just taken one quick example of a project that we have currently ongoing within our Eden Dairy facility. This is a heat recovery project that we're currently installing. And what we're doing here is we're recovering waste heat from our heat sources on site. So, for example, our Singer unit. Now, those of you that are not familiar with a Singer, the Singer unit it's a gas flame that literally torches or flames the carcass. again, that operates just under 500 degrees Celsius, and that's flame, that's waste heat that was just going to up the flue and to atmosphere. So our plan was to incorporate that to recover or to maximise the heat recovery on that system. Also in conjunction with that is our steriliser circuit. Again, our hot water steriliser system. It operates 85 degrees Celsius. So again, and that was all waste energy. Once it was finished, it went to drain, it went to waste. So our plan was to capture all of that heat, or to capture as much of that waste heat as possible. So within our Edenderry project, again, quite a significant capital venture for us, but because of the energy that was there, the potential recovery that was there, the payback on it is less than 2 years. So that for us is quite a significant energy project that we have currently ongoing within Edenderry. So that's one of the major projects. But some of the smaller stuff that we have incorporated into our sustainability plan, or our Origin Green plan, as some of the managers call it, is smaller, simpler things like, for example, implementation of our water leak management system, or our compressed air leak management system. And what that is that's just monitoring what's happening on a week-to-week basis. So, for example, we pick one of the processing sites. Each site has its own air leak management plan. So, water, for example. So each site, they sit down, the sustainability team, they meet on a weekly basis to review this leak management plan. So they you know, if there's previous faults that have been identified the previous week, they're on that list, have to be repaired. If not, put a timeline against it as to when it's going to be repaired, and if there are any new and up and coming problems that need to be addressed. And it's obviously it's a rolling plan for us. It's reviewed each and every week. We found that to be very, very effective. A lot of what we thought would have been not significant users of energy or water were highlighted on this list. So for us, we found this to be very effective. Again, a waste management plan. We didn't really have a formalised waste management plan within the company. So again, just putting structures in place as to watching what's happening, monitoring what's happening on a week-to-week basis, looking at what we can recover, maximise our recovered waste or recyclable waste. And again, just obviously for those of you that's within the food industry or within this sector, for us, our biggest issue as we surveyed it was our soil plastics. So this is something that we have spent a little bit of work and a bit of research on in terms of what we can do to find an alternative for soil plastic as opposed to just putting it to landfill. So I think we're on the verge of just breaking that now. So if anyone wants to talk to me later on that, we can discuss that. And finally, just in terms of bringing us right up to where we are now, as I say, we launched back in earlier on in the spring/summer. For us, it's now time to rejuvenate, to re-communicate the message again. So to brief the staff again, to let them know how we're getting on. So to give a progress report as to how we're operating versus our targets, what has happened since day one in terms of Origin Green, what we have put in place. And again, let staff know about some of the larger projects that we have ongoing. You know, we find it very important to keep people on board. It's amazing the amount of interest that you will find if you actually talk to your staff and let them know exactly what's happening. So our communication, our second communication plan is going to coincide with our next edition of Meet the News, which you can see is in draft format at the minute, but it's work in progress. So that brings me to the end of right up to where we are now. Again, clearly saying that by no means are we sustainability experts, but it might just give some on the ground understanding of things that we have put in place in terms of our Origin Green or our sustainability plan. I suppose finally I would just like to sum up similar to how Sharon completed her presentation in terms of if there was 3 tips that I could give, or 3 small little bits of advice that I could give to companies that are looking to become verified members of Origin Green. Number 1 is senior management buy-in. Very important. If you don't have that from day one, it's an unsurmountable journey. You know, you need to get senior management buy-in on this. Number 2 then is picking your targets. Obviously, within your own business, you know, you'll know your own targets. Don't be afraid to push your targets. You know, the more you push, the more you'll save. The more you'll save, the more you'll reduce. And finally, then number 3 is communication. Communication for us is crucial in terms of keeping it live, keeping staff engaged. So that's me. That's me done.
Well done. Thank you very much.